What's up, everyone, and welcome into this edition of the Ryan Ripken Show. I'm not Ryan Ripken. I am Zach Bollinger, and I will be hosting today as Ryan continues to enjoy himself and celebrate love. But that doesn't mean the show stops. I know it's a little bit different. Yes, I was delayed. I was caught in some traffic, all that stuff. So instead of live at 5, we're live at 6:35. Same thing, right? Same thing. But it happens. My apologies. Thank you for bearing with me. Going to be a shorter show as we do, obviously, on these middle days. You know, our big shows are on Monday and Thursday, but we want to bring you as much content as possible on the other days. I'll be having our friend, my friend, your friend, our friend, Locked On Ravens host Kevin Ostreicher will be joining me in just a few minutes as we go through some possible Ravens AFC North clinching scenarios, talk about maybe a different strategy for Week 17 that includes not playing players. Get into all of that and more about football. And then after we talk football, we have some updated predictions from ESPN on what the top hitters in baseball's free agency are going to be going for, maybe some teams that are involved as well, including a secret mystery team. I feel like the Mickey Mouse Clubhouse. Like, oh, we have a secret mystery team involved in the Alex Bregman sweepstakes. All of that and more on this edition of the Ryan Ripken Show. So if you're new to the channel, hit that like and subscribe button. I'm not Ryan Ripken, filling in solo hosting for a little bit while he goes and does what he needs to do, enjoys himself a little bit. But as always, shout out to our friends over at Merit Clubs and meritclubs.com. That is MERRITT clubs.com. Go check out all their holiday promos going on through the new year. So appreciate all of their work and everything that they do to help us out as well. The awesome people over at Merit Clubs. But we're gonna get into football to start. Actually, we're gonna go around Maryland as well. So just like I just thanked Merit Clubs, also have to thank our Around Maryland sponsor, Under 3 Seconds, as always. Next Move, Charm City, and Loan Depot. If you're looking to make your next move, make the best move with Next Move Charm City. Appreciate all that they do as well. Make sure to look them up and use them for any of your big moves this season. But we're going to start in Washington, and it came out yesterday, but we didn't get to really talk about it. Jaden Daniels' season is over. The Commanders are out of the playoff push, and they have decided to hang it up for their star quarterback's season. I'm going to be honest. I understand why you do it. It stinks because I'm a big Jaden Daniels fan. I think he is a very fun and exciting young piece to the National Football League, and the league is better when these guys are healthy, but that's the biggest thing is health. If you're a Washington fan, you have to think of RG3. Playing through injuries, it coming back to bite you, and honestly changing the course of his career forever. You do not want that with Jaden Daniels. Yes, he has had a tough year. Yes, he has been battling a lot of injuries. But at the end of the day, you sit there at 4-10. Marcus Mariota is playing well enough to maybe put you in position for another win or two. But you're out of the playoffs. Nothing you can do will ever change that. Get guys like Jaden Daniels healthy. Heck, maybe try to get a better draft pick along the way and see what you can do in the offseason, because we've talked about it before. This is an old team. In the Washington Commanders, they have a lot of things that they need to address. A lot of old position players, maybe time to hang it up, and they're going to have to address those positions as well. But for the Commanders, we now know officially that we will not be seeing Jaden Daniels the rest of the season. So that is how that is going to play out. Now let's move up to Baltimore. The Baltimore Ravens, as we watch the Dolphins put up a fight in the first half, I guess. Dolphins let the Ravens down a little bit last night, getting pretty manhandled through the second and third and fourth quarters against the Pittsburgh Steelers. So the Steelers keep their lead in the AFC North as they sit at 8-6, with the Ravens a single game behind them at 7-7. And the reason I bring that up is because we are going to get into it with Kevin Ostreicher in just a few minutes about the possible ways that the Ravens can make the playoffs, winning the AFC North, and maybe an outcome this week that would impact, maybe strategically, how the Ravens will approach the game against the Packers in week 17. It's pretty simple, though, for the Ravens. You win out, you're in. If the Ravens win their next final 3 games, they win the AFC North. It's as simple as that. Now, if the Ravens lose one, they need the Steelers to lose one, not including the Ravens have to beat the Steelers week 18 no matter what. That is going to be for the division unless the Ravens lose their next 2 games. If the Ravens lose their next 2, then you're done. You have to hope the Steelers lose their next 2 just to make it a win and you're in situation. But if the Steelers lose one of their next 2 where they play the Lions this upcoming week, the Ravens have the leeway to lose one of their games as well. But I wanted to come on and talk about this with our friend, your friend, Kevin Ostreicher. Kevin, you ready? Awesome. Kevin Ostreicher, how are we doing, my man?
Feeling all right. Actually, I need to check to see if my mic is on, which it's
I think you're on the wrong.
Talking through my camera, so now we're on the right mic.
Love it. I was going to say we felt a little different. But Kevin, no help. Let's get into it. No help from the Dolphins last night. We knew it was kind of a pipe dream, but no help from the Dolphins whatsoever. But that doesn't mean that hope is gone for the Ravens. I was just kind of breaking down different scenarios. Obviously, if the Ravens win one of their next 2, they just need the Steelers to probably most likely drop this week to the Lions.
Yep.
The Ravens win out. It doesn't matter what the Steelers do. They win the AFC North. But Kevin, I wanted to get your idea on a certain scenario because this has been making its way around the Twitter sphere, the interwebs. I want to get your opinion on it. Let's say the Ravens win this week versus the Patriots and the Steelers lose to the Detroit Lions. No matter what happens in either team's week 17 game, week 18 is for the division, kind of rendering week 17, quote unquote, meaningless. Now, there have been people who said, hey, that is a week, get Lamar extra rest. Don't play him. Maybe guys like Kyle Hamilton, Derrick Henry, some of these veterans, get them some much needed rest. Kevin, 1, maybe what's your opinion on it? And 2, do you think that's even a possibility for the Ravens to consider doing if they are in the situation where it's going to be cold in Green Bay? It's not going to be an easy game. So what are your thoughts on maybe strategically resting some guys before week 18 battle in Pittsburgh?
Yeah, this is actually exactly the topic that I'm doing for Locked On Ravens tomorrow, because it is that big of a storyline where it's kind of like this weird, interesting schedule quirk that affects both teams, because we know that both these teams are banged up and injured.
Yeah.
But it's the exact same conversation that you would have if the Ravens were the 1 seed and, they had to decide if they wanted to rest guys in their last game of the season into that bye week. Now it's a little different than that, but I don't know. Like, I actually saw it on my show this morning for Locked On Ravens that I keep kind of playing back in my mind Zay Flowers getting injured in that week 18 game last year that knocked him out for the postseason, essentially because they lost to Buffalo. And it's just kind of like, you're thinking like, man, would have been so nice to be in a situation where you didn't have to play anybody because you were locked into a specific seed. And I mean, I think they beat Buffalo last year if they had Zay Flowers. So it's tough because if the Ravens do beat New England and however they would win that game, even if it was the ugliest game you've ever seen in your life, it'd still be impressive to me.
Yeah.
Do you want to risk losing that momentum? Because John Harbaugh has shown that he is not afraid to rest players. So I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility, but I guess long story short, I would rest some guys, but I would not rest everybody. And honestly, I might even treat it like an old preseason game where you give Lamar Jackson a quarter or two, give the starters a quarter or two, just to shake or not shake it off, but keep it off, keep the rust off. And then you kind of move forward with, all right, we're not going to risk anything else. It's meaningless. And, the Steelers would have that same advantage where they could also, I know they're dealing with injuries. TJ Watt, I know he's expected to play before the end of the season with his whole situation, but there are some other guys like Derek Harmon, for example, who's been their entire run defense, has been out for a little bit, and that'd give him an opportunity. So I think both teams have an advantage, but it definitely kind of shakes up what we kind of thought was like, oh, this Ravens team got to go hard in all three of these games, get all these things. And all of a sudden you're like, oh, wait a second. Like if the schedule kind of goes one way or the other here, all of a sudden you have an opportunity, not a guarantee, but an opportunity to rest guys.
Yeah. And Kevin, I think you nailed it. I think the big debate that you're going to have is momentum versus rest. The Ravens, let's call it what it is, have not been the best team coming off of resting guys late in seasons, maybe getting that rust. And especially, let's be frank, Kevin, this team, especially offensively, has not been firing on all cylinders. It's not like you've got it going and you're like, hey, let's rest some guys up and let's hit the ground running in week 18. They're still trying to find it. So unless this is a massive blowout win against the Patriots, which, as you mentioned, is a tough task in and of itself, just winning this game on prime time this weekend, it will start an interesting conversation because I like how you put it, and that's something I'd been thinking about of, do you treat it like a preseason game of, okay, Lamar, you have 3 series. We're going to go out there. You're going to get into the game script, and we're not really going to go past that. You're going to get a quarter or two. We're going to give you the first 20 plays, 25 plays, the scripted out stuff, and a little bit beyond. And then we're going to sit you. We'll let Tyler Huntley go in there. Because I do think at this point, especially Lamar's the interesting one because we've seen it. You want him the healthiest he can be, but we've also seen, okay, can he knock rust off if he takes a week off? So it's a weird balance because I'll be honest, Kevin, 13 days of rest for Lamar Jackson going into week 18 and into the playoffs sounds pretty nice. That sounds like something where I sign me up for it. Because you can get Lamar healthy. We're already seeing the explosiveness really come back. You're thinking, man, if he gets 13 days, it's going to be even better. But I do believe that they are in for an interesting situation. Obviously, you have to take care of business this week, and then you earn that right to maybe rest a few players. But, Kevin, weird scenario aside, do you have any anything, predictions or something for this week, Ravens versus Patriots? Is this a game you're feeling confident about, or is this a game that you're looking at? And, I believe the Patriots are 1-2 versus teams above 500 this year. They have not very battle tested in that sense, but hey, you play who's on the schedule, rattled off 10 straight before the loss to Buffalo this past weekend. It's a good team, but we've seen the Patriots playing very good football, come into M&T Bank Stadium at night, and the Ravens put it to them. So what is your kind of outlook of this weekend for the Ravens and maybe things you're looking for?
Yeah, well, one of the things that I've talked about a lot on Locked On Ravens, and I'm going to talk about it again tomorrow because I'm going to mention it every single day pretty much, is the fact that Baltimore's turned themselves into a really, really good red zone and third down defense this year. They're now top 10 in each of those. And actually, I checked before. Actually, let me check right now. 2025 Ravens stats, because going into Monday night, they were 8th in third down defense and 8th in red zone. They finish out 8th in third down defense and 7th in red zone defense. So I mean, if you had told me that after the first 6 weeks of the season, I would have said, okay, yeah, right. But now we have like they've turned it around. It's a perfect no. The pass rush is still inconsistent, and there are still some moments where you'd like them to be a little better. But I think the return of Tavius Robinson has helped. But here's the thing that I'm looking at, and I'll actually give. I was going to say this on tomorrow's show for Locked On Ravens, but I'll give a little sneak peek here. This is an unstoppable force versus a movable object in horrendous red zone play for both these teams. The Ravens are now the second worst red zone offense in the NFL. The Patriots are the worst red zone defense in the NFL.
Don't you love when something has to give?
Something has to give. So we're going to see what ends up happening there. But like I kind of said, and I wish that it happened during the first Cincinnati game, but it didn't. Is like all it takes is 1 week to get back on track and get some momentum back. And I'm hoping that the Ravens found that this past week against Cincinnati, but there are still other aspects they need to improve on. But look, Patriots are extremely talented. I mean, Drake May has played incredible football this year. Travion Henderson looks like a superstar already, and he's splitting time with Ramondre Stevenson, which honestly, the more Ramondre, the better for Baltimore, in my opinion, because I don't want Travion Henderson we saw him multiple times in that Bills game and throughout the season break that off. But, then it's kind of like, the Bills don't have a lot of like, oh, that's a star type. I mean, Stephon Diggs obviously is a big name and he leads them, and he's better, I think, than people give him credit for. I think people just kind of thought he fell off the face of the earth, but I still think he's a very quality receiver. But other than that, you got to stop Hunter Henry. There are others that, make an impact there, but they're also missing Will Campbell, who got injured. I think he's expected to be back for the playoffs, if I'm not mistaken, but I don't think he's eligible to come off injured reserve right now. Defensively, New England, they're solid. They're 13th in the league in pass defense and 12th in rush defense. So hovering around top 10 in that category. But, that red zone defense part of it. But I mean, they have a lot of really good players, and, Christian Gonzalez, I think, headlines that group. And, you also, and like in the sack department, Harold Landry's been their guy. They actually, if you remember, Kayvon Chason, who was that Jacksonville first-round pick, I loved him. I thought this is the truth right here. He's having a good season in New England. He has 6.5 sacks as well. But Milton Williams is he out for the season, or is he just on injured reserve? But I know that he's not. I know that he's not going to be available for this game. I'm pretty sure. So. Yeah, so they're both expected to come off injured reserve before the season ends, but Milton Williams, who was their big free agent addition on the D-line, MCL sprain in week 12, so I think he's eligible 13, 14, 15. Yeah, so this is his last week. I think that he has to be on injured reserve if I'm doing that math right, and I'm pretty bad at math, but I think I got that one right, to come off of injured reserve, so that's a big miss that the Ravens will also not have to deal with. So hopefully they can just get things going early against this Patriots team, run the football, work their tight ends in, and just gain confidence. I think, again, like we saw that momentum in that first quarter against Cincinnati, kind of no one wanted it. It was, oh, Jamar Chase drops a ball. Joe Burrow takes a sack. Oh, Zay Flowers drops a ball. That's an interception. Oh, the Bengals. And then finally the Ravens grabbed it and ran away with it. Yeah. What you have to do against New England. And look, I think that the Ravens will not play a better offense than Cincinnati's for the rest of the season, but they will absolutely not play a worse defense than Cincinnati's as well. So it's kind of a two-way street there. I'm feeling good about it. Am I confident? Am I like, oh yeah, they're going to crush? No, I think the Patriots are a really good team. It's going to be close, but the Ravens, as I've said, they play better with their backs against the wall. Now, New England also has stuff to play for with, there's no guarantee they win the division anymore with that loss to Buffalo. There's no, they're still fighting for the 1 seed as well with Denver, although it looks pretty likely Denver will probably grab that. But Denver has a really tough schedule. And, I think the Patriots end with Jets, Dolphins after this Ravens game. So there's still opportunity for them too. So lots of storylines.
Yeah. And then Kevin, real fast before we get you out of here, so you can go help record for Locked On Ravens. Derrick Henry and Keaton Mitchell, we saw probably the most even split we've seen from them. 11 carries to Derrick Henry, 8 to Keaton Mitchell against the Bengals. Now, obviously, not a ton of snaps overall from the Ravens in general, but is that something you like? What are your thoughts real fast on getting Keaton more involved and keeping it probably closer to a 60-40 split than what we've seen in the past, where it's kind of been 80-20?
Yeah, I mean, I'm okay with it, and I think the Ravens didn't have a lot of offensive snaps in the game against Cincinnati, so I expect like if they had got, I think it was like 41 or 47 snaps they had on offense in that game. If they had gotten it closer to 50 or 55, I'm sure Henry would have probably it would have been a little bit more in Henry's favor there. But yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
anywhere from like 5 to 8 carries, 5 to 9 carries for Keaton in a game, depending on game flow, and then you give Derek anywhere from like 11 to 17 to 18. I mean, whatever that number is, if you're running the ball and it's a heavy run game script, yeah, I'm totally fine with that. I think you should use both guys in tandem. And, that's still, I mean, all these years, it's been the Ravens run game has been their strength. And I feel like they've just gotten away from it. And, we even heard Kyle Van Noy talk a little bit about that on his show.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, keep running the ball, essentially. So, yeah, I mean, Keaton's a home run threat. And I mean, both guys are, but they give you kind of that like fire and ice type of
Yeah.
camaraderie together, and their cohesiveness I feel like really throws off defenses because you got this huge like bruise, and Derrick Henry's not like a bruiser because he has
Yeah.
like finesse and speed to his game, but like he's this massive human, and then
Yeah.
you have Keaton, this little like shorter, lightning quick, like it's different skill sets, but they do have similar things that they can do well. So yeah, I'm totally cool with what they're doing there. I wouldn't expect it to be as close as it was against the Bengals. Like I would probably predict that Derek would get maybe 5, 6, 7 more carries than Keaton on any given Sunday, because the Ravens only held the ball for 20 minutes in this game total.
Yeah.
But I like what they're doing. It's better than what even like that Pittsburgh game, like where we saw Derrick Henry off the field for entire possessions. And I was like, no, use these guys in tandem together, but do it where you're rotating them in and out. And you can still ride the hot hand with guys, but not leaving a guy on the bench, having him ice cold. That's the wrong approach, in my opinion.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. I've been screaming it from the mountaintops. I feel like a lot of people have since the beginning of the season. Get Keaton the ball in space and let the man work, because it's hard to tackle Derrick Henry after you're chasing Keaton Mitchell around for 4 quarters, and it's hard to tackle Keaton Mitchell when you're taking a pounding from Derrick Henry for 4 quarters. Kevin, appreciate you joining to talk a little Ravens football. Go record your little segment for Locked On Ravens, and go check out Locked On Ravens tomorrow morning to hear all Kevin has to say on this upcoming week and the maybe week 17 potential sittings. We'll see. Kevin, appreciate you as always, my man.
Yeah, appreciate you, man. Have a good rest of the show.
Yeah, you too. Kevin Ostreicher, everybody. Good kid. And yeah, I think as we kind of talked about at the end, I am very big on getting Keaton Mitchell the ball as much as possible. I think he is just a big play waiting to happen every time he touches the rock. I thought we saw a good split earlier or against the Bengals in that game, just kind of letting Derrick Henry do his job, especially to start the second half. Bunch of big runs. They get tired. Let Keaton get the ball, especially if you can get him to the outside on toss plays, some misdirection, stuff like that. Get him out in space where he's only got one man to beat and watch him work. Well, that's going to do it for our little Ravens segment, our football segment. Appreciate Kevin for joining. And if you are new to the channel, hit that like and subscribe button. Ryan Ripken Show. I am not Ryan Ripken. I am Zach Bollinger, as you see with the Twitter handle right there. Give me a follow if you so please. But appreciate everyone for tuning in. We are going to move into a little bit of baseball before we get out of here. It's a shorter show, I know, but I wanted to talk baseball as well before we get out of here. And that's going to start with actually on earlier today on Foul Territory. There is a lot of buzz around, are the Washington Nationals going to make Mackenzie Gore, CJ Abrams available? Well, Ken Rosenthal was on Foul Territory and he talked about what the Nationals are doing. So let's give that a listen, then we'll react on the other side.
To me, the Nats want to see what CJ Abrams can do over the next year or so and see if he can improve under their new system, their new president of baseball operations, new manager, new coaching staff entirely. And their new president of baseball operations, Paul Taboni, has spoken repeatedly how he feels that these players, some of their young players, including Gore, Mackenzie Gore, and CJ Abrams, have another gear. And if you believe they have another gear, if you believe CJ Abrams in particular can improve defensively, well, then maybe the value is that much higher at the deadline or next off season when you'd still have the ability to trade them. So it's going to be really interesting to see what they do here. With Gore, my opinion is that they should trade him. To me, it's a risk to take any pitcher into the season knowing he might get hurt or he might not perform as well as you would want, and his value would suffer. Right now, Mackenzie Gore is healthy. He is a guy with 2 years of control left. It seems to me now's the time to capitalize. With Abrams, there's an extra year, and maybe you wait a little bit and just see if his value will increase. And maybe, hey, if his value increases that much, you re-sign him. I don't expect this, but you extend him and go about it that way.
Yeah. So talking about CJ Abrams and Mackenzie Gore of the Washington Nationals and what they should do trade wise. And I'm going to agree with Ken here. I think if I'm the Nationals, especially CJ Abrams, he is a guy I'm trying to make a focal point of my rebuild. You have James Wood. You have these young superstars coming up. You obviously are in a rebuild. But CJ Abrams is 25, and he just turned 25 on October 3rd. So this is a young 25. This is a guy that you can rely on. I just, personally, if I'm the Nationals, I'm giving CJ Abrams another year in a new system with new coaches, all that, to see if he can put it together more. And like Ken said, if he goes off this year and suddenly his trade value rises through the roof, that's a win. If he does okay this year, now all of a sudden he's cheap enough that you can re-sign him long-term and make him your shortstop of the future, I think that's a win. I just feel like CJ Abrams, you have a talented young player. If you get a deal you can't resist, you get a deal you can't resist. It's baseball. That's what being a good GM is. If you're going to have guys, all 26 guys on the roster should be tradable for the right price. Now, that doesn't mean that a team would ever be able to reach that price in your wildest dreams for some players, like a Paul Skeens, like an Aaron Judge, but they quote unquote have their price if a team is crazy enough to offer something that insane or has at least the ammunition to make a trade package of that caliber. Mackenzie Gore, on the other hand, I agree with Ken. Pitchers right now, can you get more at the deadline? Yeah. Kevin and I talk about this on Kevin and Zach React all the time. If you have a pitcher like a Corbin Burns at that deadline would have went for probably twice as much as the Orioles got him in the offseason, because now teams are desperate. Teams need to go out and get that final piece of the rotation to solidify their run. But that doesn't mean there isn't risk for the team trading the pitcher away. Like Ken talked about, a single injury, a down year, anything can completely plummet Mackenzie Gore's trade value in a time where he has 2 years. He's healthy at the moment. He has that ace number one potential on any given start. I am taking advantage of that if I'm the Nationals. I am saying, hey, we are not risking it. Yes, you could look smart. You could look great. You don't trade him. He has an incredible start to the season. At the deadline, you get a haul for him. That's possible, but that is a risk. I think if you are the Nationals, you are calling teams, you are trying to make a deal that helps you improve while also mitigating some risk that comes along with what it would take for a Mackenzie Gore package to disintegrate because of an injury, of a down year. I feel like his value is going to be almost as high as it can be right now. If you're going to make the trade, I still don't agree that the Nationals should blow everything up. I think they have a good young core. I think they're closer than people think. I personally, I would keep CJ Abrams. I think that is a young budding superstar in the league. Obviously you have James Wood, Robert Hassel, you have Dylan Cruz. You're putting together a lineup. You just got Harry Ford. We'll see if he sticks at catcher. Maybe he moves. Obviously, let's talk a little Orioles side of it. If you get an offer for Povich and Mayo, maybe plus another guy, maybe you take that if you're the Nationals, because you get your first baseman of the future in Kobe Mayo. think he has 30, 35 home run potential. I think Cade Povich can be a number 3 if he reaches his potential, and then plus another prospect that's a wild card. We'll see. Maybe it takes more, maybe it takes less. But I would, if I'm the Nationals, I'm looking to expand on our window, and I'm not sure Mackenzie Gore fits that in the next 2 years, and I don't see him re-signing. So I would trade Mackenzie Gore for as best of packages you can get. I would try to hang on to CJ Abrams, who has that extra year, see if he can continue to develop. If he does and you still don't think you're going to keep him, trade him away when his value is at its highest. So that's going to do it for the national side and the pitching side. But I wanted to go over this and shout out to the Yankee Report for bringing this up. ESPN updated their contract predictions for the 4 big named bats remaining in free agency. Bo Bichette, 5 years, 150. Alex Bregman, 6 years, 180. Cody Bellinger, 6 years, 180. And then Kyle Tucker, 11 years, $418 million. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of years. But something I like to do is kind of look at this in comparison to the Pete Alonso contract. Now, Bo Bichette, 5 years, $150 million. That's exactly what Kyle Schwarber got. That's $5 million less than Pete Alonso got. If this is me, if I am any team, I'm taking Bo Bichette in a heartbeat for that. If I'm the Blue Jays, if that offer is on the table, I'm taking that for Bo Bichette. Alex Bregman, I kind of teased it earlier. We're now hearing maybe the Arizona Diamondbacks. Team out in the desert just took Corbin Burns, a team that wasn't connected to Bregman last year or this year up until this moment. Does taking him and getting Bregman off the market then make it easier for them to trade Ketel Marte? Maybe. Is that the strategy they're going with? Possibly. Try to shed cap with Marte, get prospects back, while then acquiring a incredible bat in Alex Bregman. That would be a very, very fun move. I would love for the Snakes to make that move. Cody Bellinger, 6 years, $180 million, both Bregman and Bellinger in the same range as Alonso and Schwarber, just that extra year added. I think the value, it's going to be more because of age and them thinking with the premier defense. Cody Bellinger also very good against lefties. Bregman, a very good defender. I think that's why you're more comfortable with 6 years. I personally think that Bellinger returns to the Yankees. I think he has to be a priority for them. You know, I think Cody Bellinger himself has to be a priority just because you brought back Trent Grisham. We'll see if that was a part of their plan or not. I don't think they get Kyle Tucker, but you cannot lose a guy who was one of your best hitters last year. He really benefits from that short porch. He had a great season. Cody Bellinger is my number one if I'm the New York Yankees. You have to retain him. And then you have Kyle Tucker. We've seen the Dodgers are in on him. That would be horrible. Seen the Blue Jays are in on him. That would be less fun. We have seen reports that the Blue Jays will not get Tucker and Bichette, meaning it's one or the other. If they commit to Tucker, bye-bye Bo. If they commit to Bo, they're not talking to Tucker anymore. My biggest worry with 11 years, $418 million is, one, that's a lot of years. But two, it doesn't seem like teams are interested in that. Maybe Kyle Tucker has to settle for a 3, 4, 5-year deal with some opt-outs that are insanely high AAV, average salary per season. Does that play more into the Dodgers? I think it does. If he's accepting a 4-year, 5-year deal with some opt-outs and super high AAV, I think the Dodgers make a move for him, which would not be awesome for everyone who does not enjoy seeing the Dodgers just kind of run away with the season at times. But that would be, I mean, if you're a Dodgers fan, if you're the Dodgers, why wouldn't you try to get Kyle Tucker? It just seems like the writing is on the wall. But if you're going for value here, I love Bo Bichette at 5 years, 150. If the Orioles had not signed Pete Alonso and they were still looking for a bat in there, I mean, Bo Bichette's a guy that you plug in the 2-hole. You know you're going to get about 200 hits from him. He's going to bat 320. You know what you're going to get. He's a big-time playoff performer. I mean, he would have been everywhere. That home run in Game 7 would have been plastered everywhere in Toronto for the rest of eternity if Jeff Hoffman doesn't blow that lead. I mean, it's as simple as that. So, Bo Bichette, if I would have to predict this, I'm going to say Bo Bichette goes to, I'll say he returns to Toronto. Bregman, I'm going to say Bregman goes to the Diamondbacks. Screw it. I'm running the show right now. I'm going to say that. My prediction, Bregman goes to the Diamondbacks. Bollinger back to New York. And then I'm going to say Kyle Tucker. I mean, I just don't know if any teams they're not going to be willing to give him 11 years. If I had to pick, I'm going to go, he lowers his years and goes to the Dodgers. You know, if I had to pick, that's where I see it going. And I know it stinks. You know, people are not going to like that, but that's kind of where I see it all going. If he lowers his years, takes the high AAV deal, I think he's going to be a Dodger. I see a Stanley. The Mets should be in on him. They're clearly getting outspent, and the Mets have been very stern, no pun intended, on their GM or stubborn about not giving more than 3 years. I don't think they'd break that for Tucker. They should. But I'd offer him Stanley. I see you saying 7 years. I would do that in a heartbeat for him, especially if you're the Mets. You need to get some juice back into the lineup. Juan Soto and Kyle Tucker back-to-back would be really, really nice, putting Francisco Lindor in there as well. So we'll see how this all unfolds. If you're new to the channel, hit that like and subscribe button. Like I said, it was a shorter show today. We will be back tomorrow live at 5 again, back on schedule. Thank you for sticking with me and bearing with me as I was by a little, I mean very late today. So appreciate you for still tuning in. Hit that like and subscribe button. Big shout out to our friends over at Merit Clubs, meritclubs.com. Go there for all your big promos through the new year as we try to get back in shape for 2026. Appreciate all of you guys. Go check out. We got some more interviews popping up each day, so go check those out on the YouTube channel. Appreciate you guys as always, and we will see you tomorrow for another edition of Live at 5 with the Ryan